Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam Daily Study, 10th Canto, Chapter 85. We are reading text number 22 and 23. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vachoba Samavetartam Taitad Upama Mahe Yanna Putran Samudisha Tattvagrama Udahrita. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear Father, I consider your statements appropriate since you have explained the various categories of existence by referring to us, your sons." Purport: posing as Vasudev's dependent son, Lord Krishna expresses gratitude for his father's edifying instructions. Aham yuyam asar arya ime cha dwarkaya koshaha kashaha sarvepya evam yadu shrestha vimrigha sacharacharam. Not only I, but also you, along with my respected brother, and all these residents of Dwarka, should all be considered in this same philosophical light. O best of the Yadus, indeed, we should include all that exists, both moving and non-moving. Purport by disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. To protect his parents' intimate relationship with him, Lord Krishna stresses the oneness of all existence in his statement to his father, Vasudeva. Vasudeva has been reminded of his son's greatness by hearing the great sages gathered at Kurukshetra. But his sense of awe was ruining his intimate parental relationship with Krishna, and therefore Krishna wanted to dispel it. We should not misunderstand the oneness Krishna speaks here. The subtle words of the Upanishads often mislead impersonalists into believing that all existence is ineffably one, without any variety in the ultimate issue. Some Upanishadic mantras emphasize the sameness of God and his creation, while others speak about their difference. Tattvam asi Shvetaketu. You are that, O Shvetaketu, for example, is a Veda Vakya, a mantra affirming that all things are one with God, being his dependent expansions. But the Upanishads may also contain many Veda Vakyas, statements that affirm unique, distinguishing qualities of the Supreme, such as this statement: Ka evanyat ka pranyat yadi esha akasha anando nasyat esha evanandayati. Quote, who would there be to activate the creation and give life to all beings if this infinite Supreme were not the original enjoyer? Indeed, he alone is the source of all pleasure. Taittiriya Upanishad. By the influence of the Supreme Lord's bewildering Maya, envious and personalists read all the Abheda Vakyas literally and accept the Beda Vakyas only in a figurative way. Authoritative Vaishnava commentators, on the other hand, carefully reconcile the apparent contradictions in accordance to the interpretive principles of Vedic Mimamsa and their logically established conclusions of Vedanta. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shishitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Katachana Smite Yashmin Shukaram Dukaram Bhavet Vismite Viparitam Shat Shri Chaitanya Namamitam. Hare Krishna, welcome. So they're mentioning Shvetaketu. This is from the Chandoga Upanishad, and he's he started Gurukul a little late. He started um, usually at 8 years old. You get your Upanaya, you get your Brahmin thread, means you're now qualified to study Vedas, and then you study for a certain amount of years, and you come back home. So he started at 12, came back home at the age of 24, and Vedas, the Upanishad says he was swell-headed. He was quite proud. He thought, now I know everything. Um, and so his father asked him, "Do you know that thing that's unseen, unheard, um, and knowing that thing, all things become known? Do you know the underlying basis of everything?" And he said, "No, no." And he said, "Yeah, you're." And he said, "Well, how can something that is unknown be?" Um, how is something that is unseen be make things that are seen even known even more clearly? He said that just like if you understand clay, you can understand all products made of clay. So if you understand the basis of everything, and then he started to explain all these different parables. Um, so he first starts. He said before creation there was only Brahman, there was only Sat, the one cause, and then after that it expanded. So this is one of the first verses of that chapter. But he starts to explain um, that there are different subtleties in the universe. Like he said, just like yogurt comes, ghee comes out of yogurt. Like if you churn yogurt, then you can get ghee. There's something in there, it's hidden, that you don't see. Um, and so similarly, there's something behind this universe that you're not seeing. Um, let's see. Dun, dun, dun. So he gives, here's a few examples. He says, like, if you take salt, you take some salt, he told his son, take some salt and put it in water and then bring it to me in the morning. So he's in the morning, he brings us salt. He said, do you see the salt? He said, no. Uh, is it there? He said, take a sip from, you get your straw, take a sip from the top. Is it there? Yes. Take a sip from the bottom. Is it there? Yes. Take a sip from the middle. Is it there? Yes. I mean, throw out the salt, throw out the water, and then in the morning and the next day you'll see that it's all dry. The salt was also there, even though you could not see it. And then he says, everything has the Lord as its basis. That's a fact. The Lord is the basis. He is the Atma. He is the center of it all. And the center of yourself, even. He's the basis of you. And you are like that. You are, that's how you are. You're, so he's explaining um, this kind of spiritual basis behind everything. And this is what is called the Mahavakya, or what the impersonalists, those are followers of Shankaracharya, call the Mahavakya. This is their prime. They have like 4 verses that they kind of base their whole philosophy on. And so let's read the. So there's a very nice seminar by Radhikaraman called The Allure of Mayavadi Philosophy. This is and how to refute it. Actually, he originally wanted to title the talk the glories of Mayavadi philosophy, um, because Shankaracharya is actually brilliant. And if you have something that is a challenge and a opponent, something that is one of the biggest mistakes is um, to to think your opponent to be a small thing, to make a caricature. Like sometimes when we present Mayavadi philosophy, we present it as just some stupid, foolish thing, not realizing that Shankaracharya is extremely highly intelligent. Why is he? What's the proof of this? That every single person that came after him feels a need to address what he's spoken, even though he appeared in 800 AD. You have in the 1300s, you have um, or 1100th century, you have Yamunacharya, Ramanujacharya. Then the 13th century, you have Madhvacharya. Everyone feels the need, this pressure. We have to address the words of Shankaracharya because he's highly intelligent. Actually, Prabhupada made that his mission statement in his own produced pranam mantra. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatari. And Prabhupada also wrote a beautiful Vyas Puja offering. And there was a favorite line that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta appreciated that Prabhupada wrote. And that line is, "The Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast removed." This is, so when we when we see it in a kind of a caricature form, we insult the opponent's intelligence, and then we treat actually Maya's greatest weapon. What does he say? Prabhupada said this is the last snare of Maya. We treat it too casually. It's one of the most finest philosophies ever known. He was one of the most intelligent persons to walk the planet, Shankaracharya. So that's why we see impersonalism, Mayavad philosophy, uh, different elements of it, anemic versions, and then you have like the original versions, all throughout the world. Okay, so if you want to learn more, there's a 3-part series called the Allure of Mayavadi Philosophy by Radhi Kraman, recorded at ISKCON Silicon Valley. So when you think of Mayavadi philosophy, what are some ideas that you think that come up? Somebody share. Jeffrey Ackler.
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is the kind of the acceptance that I am an illusion.
I'm illusion. It's all an illusion.
Everything is ultimately illusion, but the realization that I am illusion, it just feels very heavy.
Oh, nice. And then Venu Madhuri, yes. What are some other ideas that come there?
That everything is one.
Everything is one. Thank you. Now in the Bhakti Center, tell us what are another idea that comes up there?
Praying to Srila Prabhupada what to say. Prabhupada told us that if everything is one, then how can there be love? Because for love, there has to be a beloved and a person who's loving that person. So there has to be a distinction between two persons, two entities. Without a person, there can't be love. There's just philosophy, very dry.
And the Krishna Daya wrote, "I am God." This is another one. Another idea is there are many forms. What is it? Whoever you worship, it's all the same. That's another something that might come up. Any other ideas that come up? Actually, let's read one of the verses from the Upanishads. This challenge of personalism versus impersonalism has been going on for thousands of years, and it's something that has to be addressed because actually we have two defaults. We either are depersonalizing everything, or we're actually recognizing the personalism behind everything. Bhakti is our inner default, but other than that, there's the impersonalism as the default. How can someone eat an animal without depersonalization? How do we trash the environment without depersonalization? There's what is called anthropocentrism, where everything about me is important. If I will protect the environment if it affects me. And then there's anthropomorphism, where we see personality behind everything. And then, if we see the personality behind, like the Native Americans, they would see the personality behind the rivers, and they would have this mood like we can't mistreat the river, not because just how it affects me or it affects my business or affects my grandkids, but there's a person that is being affected. So there's this old story that there's a temple, and impersonalists came to the temple and they wrote on the wall, Soham, I am God. And the devotee came there and was like, how dare they? And so he wrote in front of, he put one letter in front, Da Soham, I'm the servant of God. And the Mayavadi came the next day and he wrote, Sada, he put another letter in front, Sada Soham, I am always he. And then the devotee came back the next day and he wrote another letter in front of it, Dasa dasoham. I'm the servant of the servant of he. So this is this system of impersonalism. It's the has to be addressed, and the way it's addressed is different in the various traditions. But the way the Vaishnavas in the Gaudiya tradition, it's actually more of a peace treaty. We do realize that there is a oneness. There is like there's a shared quality between the supreme and the soul. Just like if you take an orange and I ask you what is this, and you take off the peel and you say that's a peel. Now I bring up the orange again. I say what is that? You still call it an orange. The peel was an attribute, and this is one distinguishing quality between the impersonalists and the personalists, is that the impersonalists will say that the Brahman has no attributes. It has no qualities. Because if it had qualities, that means it could be changed. And if something is changed, then it's not eternal. And things that are eternal are full of misery. They don't have that sustaining quality. Just like this material world, it's always changing. Therefore, it is subject to all kinds of miseries. Um, One second. So let me pull up this verse. It's from the Chandogya Upanishad. This is leading to those verses where there's basically the sixth chapter, second section, the first verse is where um, um, they start to explain this, and then later on in in the sections, like for section 6 on to about 15, or 8 to 15, where that tattvam asi becomes like kind of the final line of each after each explanation. So here's the sentence: in the beginning. This is the example of how Vedic literature is very packed with knowledge. In the beginning, the world was simply what is existent, the one without a second, and it thought to itself, let me become many, let me propagate myself. Now, when you hear that, what assumptions or what things can you bring out of that sentence? I'll read it again. In the beginning, the world was simply what was existent, the one only, without a second, and it thought to itself, let me become many, let me propagate myself. So this is a translation by scholar Patrick Oroville that Radhik Raman says he neither translates it in a personalist way or impersonalist way. It's a very literal according to how the words were understood at that time. He doesn't kind of lean on one side or the other. So what assumptions? What would you unpack? Even things that are maybe obvious. And you would have to speak because we're not going to see the text.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It thought to itself. So within that, it has self-concept.
Okay, so there's
an individual.
Individual, okay. What else? What else?
If
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Yes, but for me to make an assumption, I need to know who is speaking who spoke this quote? Who wrote it?
So this is the Upanishads. Upanishads are considered the breath of God. This
Okay,
particular conversation is the father to Shwetaketu.
so if God is speaking, if God spoke this quote, and in this quote we find that he wants to become many, my assumption would be that um, God is full of desire.
Oh, very nice. So yeah, desire. That's a big one there. Yes, thank you. Yes, rasas vaisaha. That he is full of desire. That's one of the Upanishads there. What else?
It,
What?
it brings to mind the inconceivable oneness and difference to me, because if God has a desire to expand himself into other beings, then it's not different than God,
And
because
and
it's,
this is also when it says many, it doesn't just mean the souls, but this is also just how matter came into
yeah,
existence.
yeah,
Everything that is there.
yeah. So on one hand, it's not different than God, but on the other hand, it is, because he had the desire for there to be others.
Okay. Another thing to mention is this presents an idea of a unitary source, which is not, although we may assume that, this is how most people see the world. The other five darshans, you have the six darshans, you have yoga, you have mimamsa, you have sankhya, you have vaisheshika. These different darshans um, actually do not have an idea of a singular source of everything. Like Sankhya sees that everything comes from two, Prakriti and Purusha. You have Vaisheshika, it sees that everything comes from a finite number of indivisible, invisible atoms. So they don't believe in a one source. And then the Mimamsa, um, they say the laws of this material universe are the foundation, and they don't even see the world as a sense of creation. So both the impersonalists and the personalists, this is a kind of a those who are in the Vedantic traditions, they see that everything has one source, and this creates a question. If everything has one source, and that one source is perfect and complete, then how can this material world exist? And that's the challenge that all the different traditions have to address. If this one source is perfect, then how does the imperfect exist? You have this in Christianity. This question is brought up in more of a this theological question is brought up in more of an ethical way. If God is all good, then how do bad things happen here? And here's more of it in a more existential question, like if God is all perfect, then how does the imperfect exist? How does the material world exist? And we'll see what is Shankaracharya's presentation. So Shankaracharya presents that because if we are going to address an opponent, now of course we've heard that we should not dive deep into the philosophy of Shankaracharya, Mayavadi, Bhasha Shunele, that Lord Chaitanya warns that because of the brilliant intelligence of Shankaracharya, the living entity's mind becomes bewildered by this philosophy. It makes the heart hard, makes the heart hard. So this is a little quote from Srila Prabhupada from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela. The Vaishnavas are by the far the greatest philosophers in the world, and the greatest among them was Jiva Goswami Prabhu, whose philosophy was again presented less than 400 years later by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. Therefore, one must know very well that the Vaishnava philosophers are not sentimentalists or cheap devotees like the Sahajiyas. All Vaishnavacharyas are vastly learned scholars who understood Vedanta philosophy fully. For unless one knows Vedanta philosophy, he cannot be an acharya. To be accepted as acharya among Indian transcendentalists who follow the Vedic principles, one must become a vastly learned scholar in Vedanta philosophy, either by studying it or hearing it. Bhakti develops in pursuance of Vedanta philosophy. This is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this first canto, chapter 2, text number 12. Tat sharanaya munayo ganaya vairagya yuktaya Bashanti atmachatmanam bhakti shuta grihitaya. The words bhakti shuta grihitaya in this verse are very important, for they indicate that bhakti must be based on the philosophy of the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra. Srila Rupa Goswami says, Shruti Shmiti Puranadi Pancharachika Vidim Vina Akantaki Harer Bhaktir Utpatayaiva Kalpate. Devotional service performed without reference to the Vedas, Puranas, Pancharatras, etc., must be considered sentimentalism, and it causes nothing but disturbance to to society. There are different grades of Vaishnavas, Kanishthadikari, Madhyamadikari, Nuttamadikari. But to be a Madhyamadikari preacher, one must be a learned scholar in Vedanta Sutra and other Vedic literatures, because when Bhakti Yoga develops on the basis of Vedanta philosophy, it is factual and steady. So we should have uh, an understanding of the Vedanta, an understanding of these different interpretations so we can address them. And so Shankaracharya has this presentation that this is the Advaita system, no dualism. There is no, uh, 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 everything is just, one. There is no attribute. And the example that is given is the rope and the snake. So a man wakes up in the middle of the night. He decides he really has to go to the bathroom, and he opens the door and he sees a snake coiled up by the door. This is, you know, common experience in India is the fear of snakes. In America, we might not have so much fear of snakes because we don't have the experience of the powerful poisonous snakes that they have in India, the cobras and other snakes that are very, very deadly. And so he closes the door, decides, okay, I'm just gonna wait. I don't want to die. I need to go to the bathroom, but I don't want to die. And then he wakes up in the morning. He saw that it's just a rope. So was the snake real? Who can answer that? Was the snake real?
No.
Was the snake unreal?
No.
Jeff, it was not unreal, because if it was unreal, why would you react? Unreal
Yeah,
things
you
will
can't confuse the rope for a snake if there's no snake.
no, and you can't react to something that is not even the the philosophy of Shankaracharya is called adhyas, where you superimpose uh, an image upon God or Brahman or existence. And so you say the snake is not real and the snake is not unreal, because if there was no connection to reality, then you would have no reaction. And then that's the kind of philosophy, is that we are imposing um, or are superimposing um, ideas and a kind of uh, the ahankar, the sense of identity upon reality and individuality. They use this example of like a sky in a pot, or like maybe a water in a jar in the ocean, and then if you smash the jar, then the water is free. Now, Ramanujacharya, he addresses the snake and the rope. He gives some questions there. Now, if why would you confuse a snake and a rope together? Now, remember, the rope signifies the real thing? Why would you consider? Why would you confuse a snake with a rope?
Bewilderment.
Bewilderment? Like, why wouldn't you see the rope and say it's a bunch of apples, or
It's the
or
resemblance.
resemblance? Okay, so we're confusing the material world for reality because they resemble each other. That's one point of Ramanujacharya. So you wouldn't consider a snake for a rope, or you wouldn't say you see the rope and say that's a bunch of apples, or that's an elephant, or that's a chair. When you see the rope, it's you confuse it because the reality has qualities like the material world, the illusion that you're seeing has qualities like that of the reality. Another one is another question that's brought up is we confuse a snake for a rope because snakes do exist. So individual reality does exist. I got a hand up. Yes, Sadhvi.
Hare Krishna, and thank you very much for today's class. For me, if I see it and I get afraid, it's because I have experienced something without either myself, or I have seen my sister or my brother have gone through such a situation. You know what I mean? It makes me, when I see it, it makes me to believe that, oh wow, this is a snake, but it's not.
Nice. I think someone also put that in the comments too, like a prior experience. Yeah. So the we're confusing our current individuality with uh, God or with existence, because existence has individuality. We have a past experience of individuality. That's another challenge to the idea that this whole world is just a sense of an illusion and that there is no individuality. Well, we're confusing the individuality because there is a past experience of individuality, and individuality is an actual reality. Any other questions or
So a distortion of our use and impulsive, like I guess just not seeing clearly because we're just reactive and blind from reality due to our past is what it's what I think I'm receiving from that.
Okay, thank you. I have another hand up. We have Vijaya Krishna Prabhu.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Prabhu.
Okay. No, thank you. And I think Sadhvi's hand, I don't know if it's still up, another question or
No, I'm here. I have a question.
Yes, please go for it.
No, it's already time for questions.
Go ahead, give your question.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. You're most kind. Dandavat pranams, Prabhu. You asked for an assumption, and I gave you my assumption when I said that when God wants to become many, the reason for that to happen is that he is full of desire, and it seemed to me that you agree with that.
Yeah, desire indicates, yeah, we do. That desire indicates personalism.
Okay, so based on this, my question would be, how do you explain that God, being self-sufficient, is full of desire? That is my question.
Okay, yeah. So the desire of how does God have a desire if he's self-sufficient? Okay, let's see how we can address that. The understanding is that the Lord and his energies are all one. Just like if you say the full moon, when you say the full moon, the rays of the moon are already indicated in the fullness of the moon. Like if you say this verse, Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranite Male Apashat Pursham Purnam Mayacha Tat Apashrayam. So Vyasadeva, he saw the Lord Purnam. He saw the Lord Purnam, which is full, complete. But when you say full moon, it means that the moon has its own internal rays. It has its own energy. So this is the kind of distinction of Vaishnava philosophy, that when we see the Brahman, or the God, the supreme, we understand that God has energies, and these energies are multifarious and can act in all kinds of various ways. Where the impersonal philosophy is the idea that God is attribute-less. Back to that, the original question is, how does the world full of all kinds of negative qualities relate to the divinity, which is full of pure qualities? Or not pure qualities, it's pure, it has no impropriety, has no any kind of imperfection in it. And so the way the impersonalists deal with that is they will say that the material world actually doesn't exist. It's like this rope and the snake, that the rope, it doesn't exist, and the rope or the snake doesn't exist, and the snake doesn't not exist. It's kind of like this very, very odd, it can't even be explained. Actually the word they use is anirvachaniya. It cannot be explained by words. And so they make the material world into something that is completely inconceivable. And then they make God into something that is very simple. It's just oneness. And then we go the opposite route. Instead of saying that God is without attributes, he's actually full of attributes. And then all these attributes are piled upon the divinity to their perfection. You take all the attributes in existence, and he's Purnam, he's full of everything, but they're it's like this word paradigmatic. God is the paradigmatic being, means he has everything in perfection. And so God has desires, but these are the desires in perfection, and his energies, the living entities, the are one of those energies. The material world is one of those energies. The internal Shakti, those are one of the energies. You have the internal, marginal, and external energies. These are all energies of the Lord, and he remains perfect, and his energies act according to his desires. They act to please him. So like Srila Prabhupada gives the example that he said, I'm an ordinary human being, but my disciples' love for me, all these temples are going on. I'm not actually there doing it. I'm not doing the arti. It's Vasudeva is doing the arti. I'm not doing the food prasad, the distribution. That's Adi Purusha's doing the prasadam distribution. I'm not doing the managing. I'm not doing so Prabhupada saying, I'm not doing all these things, but my disciples' love for me, all these things are happening. So similarly, the Lord, his energies are acting for him. And in this way, he's it's all part of him. Like the moon, the glow of the moon is a part of the moon. So similarly, the energies of the Lord are part of the Lord. So it's complete. He's not he's needing something external to satisfy him. His energies are working for his pleasure. Hopefully I made that understandable. And I have Adi
Yes,
Krishna, he's got his hand raised, so he can also share something.
but allow me to say, you just said something most beautiful for the purpose of answering my question. You just said that when God desires, it's not because he's in need of anything extraneous for it to please him. That was a brilliant moment of your answer. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
That was one of Krishna. He said all these things to Rukmini to kind of see if she would get a little bit upset. And he said, I don't have anything. And she said, yes, you don't have anything because everything is a part of you. Therefore, like Krishna doesn't have luggage. Nothing's like external to him. It's all a part of him. So all these shaktis are a part of Krishna. So yeah, everything is working for the internal shaktis are working for his pleasure, and it's a part of him. So it's something external. Adi Purusha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Brilliant class as usual. Thank you so much. I was listening to I witnessed a conversation between Danadar Maharaj and a guest here in the Bhakti Center. And the girl was a heroin addict. I know her from out there feeding the homeless. And he was expounding all this philosophy about, they were talking about Mayavad and, it's all one and this. And then at one point she just said, what's the point? And it was so, I don't know, it was a big break in the train of his philosophical presentation. He said, what's the point? And then he just changed course and he said, the point is that Krishna loves you. Krishna loves us and that we can please him. And there's a possibility that we might be burnt by material relationships, which are frustrating and selfish people tangled up with each other's subtle body and mind, oozing emotions in a tangled way. And he said, actually, this whole Mayavadi philosophy and the refutation of it, Srila Prabhupada says, is a big tangle of ideas. But the point is, and it's so nice that you asked me that, the point is service to the Lord and out of love, offering, trying to please him. We're not just trying to do stuff. We're not trying to do religious stuff, but it's an offering to the Lord. And he said, even if you have a spiritual master, you might be doing service, I'm doing service, but who are you doing it for? Not just what you do, but who are you trying to please? Is it just something to be done so that you can become more comfortable materially, and some subtle selfish motive? Or is there some love there and you're actually trying to please a person, the representative of Krishna, the spiritual master? Anyway, I'm talking too long. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Kumar.
Hey, Hare Krishna. I was listening on, anyway, the other way to listen on this. But I did listen to the class, and I've had this question for like a couple of weeks, because in verses text 1 and 3,
It's okay.
chapter ask later if you're still here.
Okay.
Jai Shri Radha Murli Dhar, Hare Krishna.
Master, I know you by which you can attain to your devotional service. Bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering.
I only wish to have attachment to his lotus feet. He opens my darkened eyes, he opens my heart. He is my Lord. Vedic scriptures sing of his character.
Spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us and give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds, and we take shelter at your lotus feet. Jai.
Jai. Thank you, Jani Tai Prabhu. Back to Nitai Chand Prabhu. Krishna Kumari, please go on with your question. We're curious.
So, I mean, it's kind of like a silly question, but I know that Nityananda Chandra will have the answer. That's why I'm asking. I've been waiting for him to come, or the timing, whatever. But here, Krishna and Balaram, are addressed here in so much love. Oh Achyuta, oh Sankarshan, oh Balaram. It's like Krishna, Sankarshan. So I just didn't even know how it got started in the purports, why the disciples of Srila Prabhupada decided to start talking about Sankhya philosophy. And,
Well,
I just make the relations because of my silly brain, Sankarshan and Sankhya. Why did they even bring it up? Is it because they thought of it because it sounds like Sankarshan?
Well, it's the next verse. It's in the next verse. Krishna is actually kind of downplaying what these sages are saying. In the next verse, he says, actually, not only I, but you. It's all basically he starts to kind of preach the oneness. So they stop seeing him as God and they start treating him more lovingly. And so the addressing the concept of oneness was in the purport. So not only I, but also you, along with my respected brother and these residents of Dwarka, should all be considered in the same philosophical light. O best of Yadus, indeed, we should include all that exists, both moving and non-moving. It's all part of God. And so he's downplaying his divinity. And so and that's something that the impersonalists do, is they downplay the divinity of Krishna. And so we want to make sure that distinction of understanding the oneness of everything versus the destruction of the individuality of everything, and destruction of the individuality of the supreme. We don't want to go that far, but as Gaudias, we do see we're a Chincha Beta, a Beta Tattva. Yes, everything is part of Krishna's energy. And so Krishna is just at that point, just speaking about that. So his father stops treating him in a very too reverential mood, and starts being more a little bit closer in a more loving mood. And he's like, yeah, you're saying I'm God, but everything is part, it's all part of God. Yes. And so he's downplaying his divinity and to increase the relationship, the rasa. And so the topic of impersonalism is brought in because we want to make sure that we ourselves don't downplay divinity, because it won't increase our rasa. It will most likely decrease it. We'll become hard-hearted and think that we're God.
Yeah, I just find it interesting. It's like, I mean, I went ahead and read because I also want to know, like, why are they going this direction? But I don't know. It just seems like the purports could instead just like really go into like the sweetness. I guess they're just protecting us. But where does this name Sankarshan for Balaram, what does it literally mean? And then like Sankhya, like is there any connection between the first part of the Sanskrit?
Sankhya, the kya is a KH.
Yeah.
So it's a different letter versus Sankarshana. You would have to ask Vasudeva. I can't remember what Sankarshan.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like there's so much emphasis put on not thinking Mayavadi. It's like, well, I just want to think the other way. Like, why not just put the energy on the personal relationship more?
And in Mayavadi is manifest in all kinds of ways. Like, for example, what is our desire to have systems in place, like a corporate? We need to have systems and not personal relationships, or smart homes. You come into the home and it checks your temperature. It tells you if there's things needed in the fridge, because it assumes that there's no persons at home that are going to come and check your temperature. There's nobody at home going to see if there's something needed. It's moving away from the personalism, and the like we said, even for how does someone eat an animal, it's with impersonalism. So this impersonalism, just it's not just a one philosophical group. It manifests as Hayagriva, when Srila Prabhupada first came to America, he writes in the Hare Krishna Explosion, he thought maybe Srila Prabhupada had some bad experience with these, like a certain group of these people in India called the Mayavadis, and he's still a little bitter about it. And then he realized, wait a minute, he's talking about us. This is us. We are the Mayavadi. So when we don't see the personalism behind everything, we don't see Krishna's connection behind everything, then we mistreat others. We might have kind of impersonal systems of management, of like just having systems, and our impersonal dealings in the home, and personal dealings with others, and personal dealings with Mother Nature. It's all over the place. And so that's why we address it, because it's either we're going towards devotional or we're going towards non-devotional, and non-devotional is impersonalism.
Yeah, if anybody met our sweet ox Madhu, like he's really sweet. But like, even every day I see him, his legs grow taller. Like, I think if people that ate cows saw even just how much he changes, it's just so beautiful. Yeah, nobody would want to eat him. Anyway, thanks for my silly question. I want to hear like more about like Krishna and Balaram, and like what the exchange was with Vasudeva, and how they were looking at each other. And like,
So here it is sweet because he's trying to encourage that. He's downplaying his godness so they can just be more sweet with him.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great discussion. Thank you, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu. Any final thoughts, concluding statements, punchlines, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu? I think you summarized everything pretty nicely. Krishna downplays his personhood to his godhood to facilitate bhava, the relationship with his devotees, and impersonalists depersonalize everything to go on with their sense enjoyment, I guess. Impersonalists, impersonal tendencies within us. Jai. I wonder if the original Jeffrey Eckler resembles the Jeffrey Eckler we have here in our Sangha. What do you think, Jeffrey Prabhu?
I think the original one was much more handsome.
Okay. Okay. Don't mistake Jeffrey Eckler for original Jeffrey Eckler.
You stopped
He
referring to him
might be
as
a beautiful
bird.
gopi.
Yeah.
Gopi. You've gone from bird to gopi. I don't know.
No, he's is it Chakravaka bird or a Chitaka bird, the one that drinks from the clouds, or a parrot? Yeah, we'll see. We'll find out in due course.
Or a seagull stealing a French fry.
Chatak bird.
Yeah, Chatak bird. See, all right, we're getting there. We're getting to Jeffrey Eckler Prabhu Swarup gradually, class by class. The Swarup, eternal spiritual identity, gets revealed gradually. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay, how about Venumaduri? Venumaduri, please unmute yourself and say Hare Krishna. If you're in the office, do it loudly. Venumaduri.
Sorry, I had to get my phone out of my bag. Wait, I want to do it with my good friend, Risky Das. Say hi, Risky.
Whiskey
Say Hare.
Prabhu ki jai. There he is.
There he is. Hare Krishna.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Shrimad Bhagavatam
Hare
ki
Krishna.
jai. Nityananda
Jai.
Chandra Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Everybody on this call and on YouTube and everywhere else, ki jai.